From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm James Billington, the 13th Librarian of Congress, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you all to the Library of Congress and to this event, celebrating the opening of the library's latest exhibition, Magna Carta, Muse and Mentor. I think it is indisputable that the Library of Congress has a special relationship with Magna Carta. We remember, of course, this institution's good fortune to have been called upon to safeguard the Lincoln Magna Carta during World War II. But as a repository of the accumulated knowledge of human civilization, the Library of Congress must also be acknowledged to be one of the best assets the United States possesses for participating in Magna Carta's greatest legacy, the preservation of the rule of law. The library began over 2 centuries ago as the principal reference collection for legal research, both for the Congress and the United States Supreme Court. It continues today to offer its unparalleled legal resources to all 3 branches of the United States government, as well as to the governments of foreign states. This mission, the preservation of the rule of law, is inscribed on the very walls of the building in which we are standing, the Thomas Jefferson Building. In paintings, mosaics in the ceiling, statues in the main reading room, there is a wonderful quote by the Englishman Richard Hooker. Of law, there can be no less acknowledged than that her voice is the harmony of the world. Today's program embodies the spirit, I think, of that quotation. We will hear from not only our law librarian of Congress, but from voices from the field of law, from our guests from the United Kingdom, and from voices that will sing appropriately enough about the law. Beautiful voices such as we have just heard. It is my great honor now to recognize our special guest here on the stage. I would like to recognize Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal. I would like to acknowledge also and recognize Vice Admiral Sir Tim Lawrence, my wife Marjorie, the Most Honorable the Marquis of Lothian, the Right Honorable Sir Anthony Hooper. Together they represent legislative and judicial branches of the United Kingdom. Also the Very Reverend Philip Buckler, Dean of Lincoln Cathedral, Mr. David Mao, the Law Librarian of Congress, Ambassador Sir Peter Westmacott, British Ambassador to the United States. Also with us here today is Sir Robert Worcester, Chairman of the Magna Carta 800th Anniversary Celebration Committee, the group responsible for coordinating the 800th centenary celebrations of the sealing of Magna Carta. A delegation from the Inner and Middle Temples is here to represent two of the professional associations of the barristers of England and Wales, Lord Igor Judge, Lord Justice Tomlinson, Sir Anthony Hooper, and the Reverend Robin Griffith Jones. So I welcome you all, and I'm grateful for your participation in today's ceremony. This exhibition was organized by the Library of Congress in partnership with Lincoln Cathedral, bringing Magna Carta to the USA. We are immensely grateful to Dean Philip Buckler for the loan of Lincoln Cathedral's 1215 Magna Carta to the exhibition. When the Lincoln Magna Carta returns to England next year, it will be reunited for a brief commemorative event with the three other copies of Magna Carta that survive from 1215, two of which are kept by the British Library, one of which is kept by Salisbury Cathedral. The British Library will display the four surviving manuscripts for one historic day. It will be the first time they have ever been exhibited together. The Lincoln Magna Carta will then be moved to its permanent residence in a dedicated vault specially constructed this year as part of the Lincoln Castle Revealed project. Now, you may have noticed that the Magna Carta has come to the United States a full year ahead of the 800th anniversary. We are thrilled to be able to stage this exhibit leading up to the Magna Carta commemorations that are already in the works throughout the United Kingdom and indeed the world. Our exhibition complements the major Magna Carta exhibitions being planned in the UK for 2015, as it tells the story from a unique American historical point of view. Our exhibition focuses on the impact that the interpreted principles of Magna Carta had on our founding fathers and the founding documents. It explores Magna Carta's strong influence on the constitutional law of the United States. And when legal scholars and historians look back on this milestone anniversary, it is our hope that the content of our exhibition will show how one of England's most venerated exports, Magna Carta, forged the US-British bond of law. I thank you all of you for joining us today and encourage you to visit the exhibition between now and January 19th. Now, if you would please rise for the playing of the national anthems.
Good morning, everyone. I'm David Mao, and I have the privilege and the honor of serving as the Law Librarian of Congress. The Law Library here at the Library of Congress is custodian to the world's largest legal collection of legal materials. It's now at over 2.8 million volumes, and that collection continues to grow every year and includes materials from all jurisdictions around the world. The exhibition, which we're opening to the public today, Magna Carta, Muse and Mentor, draws many of its items from the Law Library's collection, including an array of medieval manuscripts, early printed works, judicial decisions, posters, and ephemera. But the Law Library is just one of the many collections whose items are represented in the exhibition. The 77 objects in the exhibit are from the variety of Library of Congress divisions, including manuscripts, prints and photographs, music, rare books, geography, and maps. And they've all been brought together to recount the narrative of Magna Carta's influence on the constitutional foundations of the United States. The items from the Library of Congress collections trace Magna Carta's path from the Barons' Rebellion in England that gave rise to the Charter, through the tumultuous era of the English Civil War, across the Atlantic Ocean to the new colonies in America, and finally to the creation of the United States Constitution. The Lincoln Cathedral Magna Carta, which we are extremely fortunate to have on loan from Lincoln Cathedral in England, stands as the focus of this exhibition, both physically and thematically. It occupies a central location at the head of the gallery and is visible as visitors enter the gallery, walk through, and when they exit, before they exit, they will see it once again. This intentional design allows the document to have a double impact on the viewer. The first time, set against a backdrop of interpretive materials about medieval England and the conflict between King John and the barons. And the second time, illuminated by the subsequent history of Magna Carta's interpretation over time and its role in the rise of constitutional government in England and the United States. The exhibition highlights legal principles that find their roots in the 17th century interpretations of Magna Carta, these principles that still resonate very much with us here today. These include the right of representative government, the right to due process of law, the right to trial by jury, protection from unlawful imprisonment or the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus, and the theory of limited government. To convey a sense of our presentation and the story of Magna Carta's influence on American liberties to a broader audience, the Library of Congress partnered with the American Bar Association to develop a traveling exhibit containing facsimiles of some of the items that we are showing in the exhibition today. That traveling exhibit will visit many American cities and be displayed at law schools, at libraries, at courthouses, and at legal conferences. It'll even make a special appearance next year in London in June. Next month, on December 9th, the library will hold a symposium, Conversations on the Enduring Legacy of the Great Charter. At that time, we will bring together legal scholars, practitioners of law, members of Congress and the United States Supreme Court to talk about Magna Carta's continuing impact on contemporary legal and political thought. It's our hope that that symposium will encourage new ideas and new avenues of research on the ideas that emerge from Magna Carta and the tradition that interprets it. Now, I'd be very remiss if I did not mention that we are here today because of the initial conversations between my predecessor, Roberta Schaefer, and Sir Robert Worcester. 3 years ago, they had a conversation about perhaps bringing Magna Carta to the Library of Congress and how the Library of Congress might be part of the worldwide celebrations of the 800th anniversary. And that idea took hold and blossomed into what we have today, Magna Carta, Muse and Mentor. I want to recognize the person that has been most responsible for managing all of the Magna Carta commemorative events here at the Library of Congress, my colleague, Robert Newland. Robert, thank you very much for agreeing to take on this task 3 years ago and for your work and dedication in bringing this project, this major project, to fruition. And I also need to thank my law library colleague, Nathan Dorn, standing in the back, who has curated the exhibition. He spent numerous hours selecting the items, creating the narrative, and scripting the content for the wonderful exhibit upstairs. Now, this exhibition and these events, however, have come together as a culmination of efforts from multiple divisions across the Library of Congress and from our partners in the United Kingdom. They're the product of many hands, too many to name, but all deserving our gratitude. So today, the Library of Congress has once again the honor of being entrusted with a charter that in many ways shaped our modern constitutional government. This exhibition's opening marks a very significant and meaningful anniversary for the library, because 75 years ago this month, the Great Hall of the Thomas Jefferson Building, where we are right now, was the site of an interesting episode in the long story of the Lincoln Cathedral Magna Carta. And so now I will invite the Most Honorable, the Marquess of Lothian, to speak about it. He will be followed by the Very Reverend Philip Buckler, Dean of Lincoln Cathedral.
Your Royal Highness, Dr. Billington, Sir Peter, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, 75 years ago in this great building, my predecessor in title, Philip Lord Lothian, as British Ambassador, handed over to the Library of Congress for wartime safekeeping the same Lincoln version of Magna Carta that we now welcome here once again. And I'm honoured to be asked to recall that historic occasion in today's entrusting ceremony. Swirling around that handover 75 years ago were the storm clouds of the Second World War. Yet the event was about much more than finding this historic document wartime sanctuary. It uniquely underscored the importance of Magna Carta to the American people. In Lothian's words, and I quote, "To lie alongside its own descendants, the Declaration of American Independence and the American Constitution." Lothian was a strong friend of America and of its president. Winston Churchill described him to FDR after his death in late 1940 as a high interpreter. He was also a great friend of the librarian Archibald MacLeish. Indeed, after Lothian's untimely death, MacLeish accepted on behalf of the library and at the request of his sisters Philip's death mask as a mark of his deep respect and affection for the library. On that occasion, the new British ambassador, Lord Halifax, spoke of Lothian's, and I quote, "lifelong association with America and his unshakable trust in the common sense and judgment of our two peoples." Halifax believed that the choice of the library as the permanent resting place for this memorial to Lothian was, and I quote again, "symbolic of the community of thought that belongs to those who have inherited free institutions and find in these the expression of their own love of freedom." Supreme Court Judge Frankfurter, also a close friend, spoke too of Lothian's courage through the dark days of 1940. But it's Philip Lothian's own speech at the handover on 28 November 1939 that best conveys his deep-felt sentiments. He began almost mischievously by asking why all this fuss and trouble about what he described as a medieval relic, and then he gave his answer. The almost self-evident truths it pronounced have echoed through the pages of history, century after century, by individual citizens and subjects, by rebels and conservatives, by parliaments and congresses, as the sufficient ground on which to base their claim for liberty and responsibility. He continued, "In its immortal words, we see the nucleus of most of our liberties, the supremacy of law over arbitrary power, the inspiration which nerved the hands of those who struck for freedom and who built the institutions which secured it." And he went on, "Not the findings of philosophers or the dreams of idealists, but a victory in the grim struggle of national life for the principles of freedom from which we draw our being." Echoing down the years from 1939, these words re-illuminate the core of the relationship between the peoples of Great Britain and the United States. Too often we speak glibly of our shared values, but Philip Lothian's simple description enshrines more concisely than anything else the beating heart of the real bond between us. And so in our time, as the dark shadows of violence and oppression trespass yet again upon our world, may this Magna Carta once more light in each of us the inspiration to reach for the sunlit uplands of peace, of liberty, and of justice, which must surely be our common goal. Thank you very much.
Your Royal Highness, Mr. Librarian, Mr. Ambassador, distinguished guests, it is my pleasure to be able to bring Lincoln Cathedral's Magna Carta to Washington for this magnificent exhibition. This document has been in the possession of Lincoln Cathedral since late June 1215, and in recent times has been exhibited at home and abroad to inspire debate and reflection upon both our history and our future. Today's exhibition is doing just that, and I'm grateful to the Law Library of Congress for such an opportunity. But I do want also to express further gratitude to the library and to the American people for looking after our Magna Carta during those dark years of the Second World War. Today, it returns in happier times, though the threat of terrorism and fanaticism means that it still has work to do in reminding us of the principles of freedom and justice that lie at the heart of our two nations. So it is with great delight that I echo the words first spoken in this hall 75 years ago. Mr. Librarian, I have the greatest pleasure in entrusting Magna Carta to your benevolent care. And now I have a key symbolizing the cabinet in which Magna Carta is held, and I would invite Lord Lothian, our ambassador, and the librarian to come, and I will hand over this key as a symbol of today's event.
Receive this key, Mr. Librarian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
In safekeeping.
Thank you.
Your Royal Highness, distinguished guests, in the centre of London, on the bank of the River Thames, lies the 12th century Temple Church. She sits within the precincts of two of the four Inns of Court, the Middle Temple and the Inner Temple. The inns play a vital role in the promotion of the independent bar. In 1214 to 1215, the area now occupied by the two inns was the headquarters of King John, who on June the 15th, 2015, so 1215, agreed very reluctantly to the terms of the Magna Carta. At the heart of the life of the temple is the Temple Church Choir. The choir will now sing, both in Latin and English, clauses 39 to 40 of Magna Carta. These clauses, together with others, guarantee what we today call the rule of law. Central to the rule of law is the fundamental principle that no one is above the law. And this principle depends for its effectiveness upon an independent legal profession and an independent and impartial judiciary. In clause 39, the king promised not to take coercive measures against a person, quote, except by the lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. In clause 40, the king promised that, quote, to no one will we sell, to no one will we refuse or delay right or justice. The words of the anthem that you are about to hear have been set to music by the American composer Nico Muhly. The Temple Church commissioned him to write this music to celebrate the 800th anniversary of the sealing of Magna Carta. You will now hear the fourth and last movement. But if you wish to hear all four movements, which I'm sure you all do, then please come to the Temple Church on December the 18th this year to a concert which will be broadcast by the BBC as part of the Temple Church Winter Festival. As we listen to the music in these so beautiful and historic surroundings, please let us remember that there are, all over the world, many modern King Johns who deny or would deny us the rule of law. And let us also remember, in this period of remembrance, those who died so that we could live under the rule of law. The choir.
To
Thank you. That was beautiful. So we are very honored at this time to welcome Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal to the library for the opening of our exhibition. She is here in her capacity as a Royal Bencher of the Inner Temple, which, as you might have heard, is a professional association of barristers that dates to the 14th century. She's recently agreed to be the patron of the Inner Temple's Book Prize 2015, which is a major international prize for outstanding authorship to commemorate the 800th anniversary of the sealing of Magna Carta. And so we are very delighted that she has joined us as part of the many, many Magna Carta celebrations that will benefit from her involvement next year. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal.
Mr. Librarian, Mr. Peter, distinguished guests. Well, can I say what a pleasure it is to be able to join you. It's very nice to be back in Washington, but entirely because of your invitation to join you at this very remarkable event, celebrating the Magna Carta and the Muse and Mentor exhibition. Just a clarification, as a Royal Bencher, I just want you to know that I'm not a professional lawyer and a barrister in that sense. I am purely honorary. Just make that point in case you ask me any awkward questions. But I'm delighted to be here. The Inns of the Inner Temple and Middle Temple have been a really important part of the history of the freedom of law in England and in Britain and in further afield. And of course reflect very much where Magna Carta has come from and was hugely involved in it. And we're delighted to be here as a group, but we're particularly pleased that the Library of Congress has been so supportive and so interested in celebrating the 800th anniversary of Magna Carta. And it is, may I just add my congratulations and thanks to the Library of Congress for their involvement, for their diligence, for their enthusiasm in the way that they have supported and the way they have put on this exhibition. We really are extremely grateful. And in case you're wondering, we could have been a lot later turning up for this ceremony. There's a huge amount to distract in the exhibition, and I hope all of you will take a little more time to go around the exhibition to see the context and what happened after Magna Carta and the links that it has created here in America and those shared values and where Magna Carta makes those joins. This exhibition is really important. I have to say that I think it's apposite, it's timely, because we take so much for granted in terms of our freedoms and our expectations of freedoms and independence. And anniversaries such as this really are reminders how far we have come in safeguarding our liberties. Nearly 800 years ago, Magna Carta gave us our first concept of a society governed by the rule of law, a major step. We can remind ourselves of how difficult that has been to maintain, that integrity of the rule of law. And I think anniversaries are an opportunity to look forward to what will be happening in maybe 100 or 200 years. We'll still be celebrating Magna Carta as it reaches those milestones and its relevance in that time, and ensuring that the rule of law remains a valued concept in the future. And it is imperative for us to instill these values, this understanding in the next generation. And it is therefore that this exhibition is a really good starting point as it links with the future, and particularly in educating the next generations. Education, therefore, is a distinct focus for the 800th anniversary commemorations. Schools and other organizations around the world will provide students not only with a chance to study the historical facts of Magna Carta, but will offer them opportunities to relate its principles to contemporary life. And here I'm relieved to note that we have a very good starting point, because we are in terms of countries, are perennial top choice for overseas study. Every year, around 50,000 Americans study in the United Kingdom, and around 10,000 British students come to study in the United States. And I might also mention that between us we have all of the top 10 and all but 3 of the top 20 universities in the world, according to the latest international rankings. And some educational programs planned for the anniversary include an international essay contest for 11 to 18-year-olds, a youth symposium for 16 to 25-year-olds on democracy, justice, freedom and liberty, and a moot court contest for university students. I think I'd quite like to sit in on that one. Law school scholarships will be offered, and countless free lectures, both in person and online, will enrich students' understanding of this foundational document. And I'd mentions here online. Maybe that's the biggest challenge to Magna Carta and the interpretation of the rule of law in the future, and something that everybody will have to grapple with in its interpretation of and how it is used. There is much to look forward to, but there is a very good reason for looking back to Magna Carta and understanding the principles which have guided us over those centuries. So as one of the 2 royal benchers in Inner Temple, the other being my father, may I again congratulate you on mounting this exhibition and thank you for raising Magna Carta before next year and in United Kingdom's terms to help us mark the year that is ahead and the debates that will come with our celebrations of the 800th anniversary of Magna Carta. I hope that some of you will consider joining us next year for those celebrations, but I hope an awful lot of you will take advantage of the exhibition that is here in the Library of Congress to learn a great deal more and to celebrate the real values of the freedoms and the independence that the rule of law can give us all. Thank you.
Eternal, ringing on the farther shore, as I near those swollen waters with their deep and solemn roar. Alleluia, 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 glory to the great I am. And my soul
Thank you very much. That was beautiful. At this time, I would like to thank great benefactors of the Library of Congress, Julie Kristen Opperman and the Dwight D. Opperman Foundation, because it is their support that makes educational opportunities like this exhibition possible. An effort like this, however, could not have been achieved without the generous donations of others, including the Federalist Society for Law and Public Policy Studies, First Financial Bank USA, the Friends of the Law Library of Congress, BP America, the Lind and Harry Bradley Foundation, the Earhart Foundation, the law firm of White and Case, LLP, and the Burton Foundation for Legal Achievement. We also here at the library gratefully recognize contributions received through the Friends of the Law Library from Thomson Reuters, William S. Hine and Company, Incorporated, Raytheon Company, Brill Nijhoff Publishers, and the British Council. A complete list of all of our generous sponsors is included in your program, and I invite you to please read through all of the names. So at this time, I will conclude the program and just remind everyone that the exhibition is open now through January 19th of next year, 2015. And that's a very special day. That's Martin Luther King Jr. Day here in the United States. So I hope you will come many, many times to come to the library to see our exhibition. This concludes our program, and I would just please ask that you remain in place while the official delegation exits the hall. Thank you very much.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.